Welcome to Get Momentum for Online Entrepreneur podcast with your host, me, Penny Elliott. This is the show where we match the woo with the do. So that's your perfect mix of mindset and strategy to have fast success in your online business so you can finally live the life that you thought you were going to when you first started your business. And today I have the amazing Kim Barrett with us from Your Social Voice. And I've known Kim for quite a while. We met in Funnel Hacking Live. I don't actually know if we actually met or we sort of brushed past. And then I came into the vortex after leaving Funnel Hacking Live going, oh my God, I need this, and this. And Kim spoke to me like one of the boys and I instantly loved him. And then he's helped me on and off over the years with some amazing Facebook ad campaigns. And I've actually couldn't quite make his live event because obviously you guys know I have a little one. And they become quite difficult as they get older. I'm not quite sure when it becomes easy, but so Kim's been in my world for a while and I absolutely freaking love it. So I'm sure, well, we'd all like to welcome you, Kim, and I'm sure you've got a really like posh introduction that tells everyone what you do that you can do way better than me because no one can sell your stuff like yourself.
I like to be a bit more relaxed. So it's like we help business owners, as you said, to focus on doing what they do best. You know, no one got into business to become a marketer unless you're like me. No one got into business to do their books, accounting, legal, you know, all that sort of stuff. No one really wanted to do that. So we always saw that as an opportunity to help business owners and go, look, if we could at least take that marketing part out of the way for them, then they can just focus on serving their clients and just doing what they do. So we do that for experts, service providers, coaches, consultants, whatever you want to call them. And then we also do it in the property space as well. And that's really where we specialize, is just so that you can just literally focus on your clients and at least the rest of that part is taken care of from a marketing perspective.
Perfect. And you've had a few famous people on your books, haven't you?
We worked with a few cool people, yeah. So we've had through joint venture partnerships and whatnot, we've worked with like Gary Vee, Reese Witherspoon, which was cool. We worked with a few companies on the stock exchange over here in Australia, some quite big names in that space. So it's been good fun. It's definitely been a learning curve when you get to work with some of those campaigns, that's for sure.
So that's amazing. So I guess that's like dovetails quite well into like the first question that we ask about is like, we're all about creating consistent clients here. And so how do you create a consistent flow of clients? Like what's your secret sauce?
So it's kind of boring and it's not that secret. So hopefully it's helpful for everyone.
No, the episode's over.
So, I mean, look, and this is going to sound weird, but we just track our numbers, right? So we know what our numbers are. So the only way to consistently get clients is to consistently have closing conversations. The only way to consistently have closing conversations is to have consistent lead generation. The only way to have consistent lead generation that's predictable is through paid advertising. Like you can't predict word of mouth. You can't predict referrals. You can't predict inbound inquiry, someone just calling you and being like, hey, Penny, you're the best. I want to work with you. That's unpredictable and inconsistent. Right. So for us, it's always paid advertising and our specialty, Facebook and Instagram, you know, we practice what we preach. So, you know, every day we run Facebook ads. We spend several hundred to $1,000 a day ourselves on Facebook ads to bring clients in, to bring those prospective clients so that we can have those closing conversations. We can generate those leads. We can have those conversations and we can then, you know, if they're the right fit, then they can start working with us. If not, then we'll refer them on. But we literally practice what we preach. It'd be pretty bad if I was a advertising guy and I'm like, oh, I just go to BNI at breakfast and I go to networking events to try and get my leads. I wouldn't speak much from my skills on the ad side of things.
No, and also, I mean, Kim kind of sells himself a little short, but when I first signed up with him, I had a conversation with him while he was on a train from some city in Canada to another place in Canada because he was speaking somewhere. And then I think if I've got this right, skiing for a day and then speaking somewhere else and just doing the circuit of like speaking to people and talking about marketing and consistency and knowing your numbers and Facebook ads. I mean, you only have to go on your website to see how many times you've been asked to be on stage as the like leader and authority in this space.
Yeah, we get to travel around a fair bit, and that is just because we've had that, especially in Australia. I mean, in the US, there's there's people been doing it equally as long and have more awareness. But in Australia, I've been doing this we've just hit our 5th birthday as a company in January, so 5 years old as a company. But I've been doing this since I was 15 years old. So for me, it's like it's second nature to do it like this. And as you say, I might sell myself a little bit short in some of those aspects, but because to me, it's like cool. It feels like common knowledge now. It's like, cool, why is everyone not just like tracking these numbers and doing this? And the other day we're speaking to like this property investment company that manages like several $100 million, and they're like, oh, so you guys like track, like, you actually track when a lead comes through and then you have a sort of phone conversation. You guys want us to track that? I'm like, yes. Not just like we put money in and money comes out. Like, we want to track that all the way along. And you'd be surprised at the companies that don't do that when you think they should do.
Yeah, isn't that frightening? I don't think you need to mention names there. That's quite frightening. Yeah. So I guess one of the things that I like to highlight on this podcast is that it's not just a straight line to the top. So I'm sorry, people, but you can't just come to Kim and say, right, great, sign me up, set up some Facebook ads, track my numbers, and I want to do 10 grand this month, 15 grand next month, 20 the next month after that, and 25 after that, right? It's never as simple as that. So when have you had to really dig deep to get momentum in your business after a setback that you could share with us?
Yeah. I mean, it happens all the time. I was reading a great post from, I think it was Alex Sharfin just yesterday, and he talked about the spray WD-40, and he's like, there's a reason that there's a 40 after it, right? It's like how many iterations it took them to get to a good formula. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, me either. I was like, oh, this is like, I just like WD-40 sounds cool. I don't know why they chose that at all, but apparently that's the answer. So for me, looking at that, I've always known this, like, if you've got to test, you've got to measure, you've got to kind of reiterate things to try and get growth and to build momentum back into your business. And that happens for us like all the time. So we always are looking at how we can improve things, build them up. And, you build things to a certain level, and then you might have a team change. You might have something else happen, and you've got to kind of reinvent that. So for us, it's always going back to an analogy and a great book as well. There's a guy called Dr. Eli or Elijah, I think it is, Goldratt, and his book is all about the theory of constraints. And I liken it to a garden hose because I'm a simple guy. I like to simple analogies rather than the whole theory of constraints that he has. And it's like at any one point in time, if you have a garden hose, you hook it onto a tap, you turn the tap on. If it's kinked up, right? Let's just say there's 50 kinks throughout the whole hose, and at the other end, you've got the trickle of water coming out, which is your bit like money coming out into your bank account, into your business and its growth. At any one point in time, there's only one kink that's stopping the water from flowing. Yes, there's 50 kinks in the hose, but there's only one right now stopping your business from growing. So you've got to go back and look at that, unkink it, and then you can move on to the next one. And for us, we've always got to do that because no business is ever perfect. No business is ever, it's 100% hands off, never have to worry about anything again. There's always going to be new challenges that come up, and you've got another kink in the hose that you've got to look at and figure out how you can alleviate that. So for us, like that's an ever learning process. We might have a great month and we generate a ton of leads. The next month is like, cool, now we don't have the sales team to call all those leads, or now we don't have the delivery team to deliver on all those leads and sales we've made. So now we've got to consistently go back and look at that. So we literally have to do that on a day-to-day basis. So for today, Facebook, even though we're quite good friends with them, decides to say, hey, we're deactivating your ad account today because I ran an ad for a client. So I wanted to be nice to them, spend a couple $100 for them as a favor. Then they're like, bang, you didn't read section 13 of the policies, which says that you can only have one ad and advertiser per account. We're deactivating your account. So I'm like, great. Fun. So we have these targets we need to hit this month, which is based on us generating a certain number of leads, which means you take, that was like last night into today, into tomorrow it's going to be, so we're 3 days behind in our lead gen target, which means that we're going to be 3 days behind then hitting our goals that we've set for the month, which means we potentially might not hit our goals this month, which we've been pushing really hard to hit. So today, I went and set up like 10 new ad accounts, transferred all the ad accounts over, spoke to a buddy of mine who's going to give me a bit of a helping hand to make sure I've got my YouTube ads set up so I can run those. So, I literally got to do that today to make sure that we can keep and rebuild our momentum.
Wow. Okay. So there's a live example. So one, thank you very much for getting on this podcast interview while you've got that going on. I mean, and your hair's not standing on end, so that's good. And you haven't dropped the F-bomb yet. So you're doing well. But I just really want to like everyone who's listening or watching this to really like hear that, Kim's won how many 2 Comma Club awards? Well, you don't win them, earned them.
Yeah, we've got 2 with another one on the way.
So there you go. So like, 7 figures to get a 2 Comma Club, and he's got 2 and 1 on the way, yet he's down in the trenches, right? Shit happens, and it doesn't mean that he's gonna just like give up on his business and pack it away, which is a lot of people do like early on in the stages if you have these setbacks. So you really just have to dig deep and get in there and get it fixed and know that, okay, I'm 3 days behind, so what can I do to overcome that 3 days? It's not about shifting the goal, it's about getting a bit more creative. So I really love that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I never knew WD-40 was 40 was the variation. I mean, you can tell Alex, obviously he knows me, that I use olive oil because we didn't have WD-40. So that olive oil that you spray?
Yeah.
Works just as good.
Yeah, life hacks as well. But you weren't expecting life hacks today, guys.
Yeah, there you go. That's a woman at home on her own trying to fix a doorknob. So if you could go back to the beginning of starting your business, like knowing what you know now, like, the extreme situation that you're in now, or whatever it might be, what would you tell your young entrepreneurial self right back when you were 15 starting out playing in marketing?
I mean, there's always interesting like this question, because if I told myself anything and changed anything, then I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't have the experiences that I have now. So I'm like, it's like that, go back in time, make sure you don't step on a bug and change the trajectory of the future. And now we've got flying cars or something like that. So I think for me is always the fastest way I've ever grown has always been by finding mentors that can help me out. So I think the earlier I would have done that, the better, so I don't think I did it as early as I could have, and also put as much emphasis and like not desire onto it, but I didn't really think, I thought I could figure a lot of things out for myself, which I did, which I was happy to do. But it's like, cool, like if you can turn a decade into a day, like why not do that and pay for that benefit? I probably would have not gone to uni and used that money to hire someone to teach me all the things I need to learn, as opposed to going and getting a university degree and then just having that as it holds my books up on my bookshelf.
Yeah, well, at least it does something. Yeah, that's so true. And I mean, I guess, can you talk to the fact, I mean, going a little bit off piece here, what's because obviously you bootstrapped right from the beginning. I mean, you were in was it your parents' garage or your garage, or and like now you've got an office with people that actually come in and you have a daily huddle every day. But where or what guidance can you give people about the tipping point between like trying to work something out yourself or getting a mentor, and potentially putting that on credit to get that mentor?
I mean, it's a risky one, and asterisks, neither of us are financial advisors. If we tell you to spend money, don't go and spend it. You do it. The big asterisks on that. But I mean, for me, like everything I did, I kind of stretched myself to do it. But it also meant that I put extreme value on it. You know what I mean? Like some people, especially like I've done stuff for free for people and given people stuff for free, and I can tell the difference between someone that gets something for free versus someone that like hustled to get their last dollar in, or hustled to try and get a credit extension or something to do some stuff with us. And they always seem to be the ones that really pull out all the stops. And I think it just comes down to, you've got to have your sense of reality about whether things are going to be possible, but you've also got to have that self-belief. So for me, it's like, if that is in balance, where it's like, cool, I know that it's possible and it is reality because people have done it before. They have a track record. I know that they will be able to help me, and I have the belief in myself, and I know that I'll be dedicated to doing it. That's the perfect storm. And that's when you should take action, get mentors, all that sort of stuff. But if you don't have that, you're going to be, the industry average of, which is like probably 8 out of 10 people that don't complete a program or don't show up for their calls or whatever it might be. Like when I charge people $1,000 an hour to do an hour call with me, they're on the call. Like they're there, they're not going to miss it. But if I'm like, hey, someone like, here's a 15-minute free strategy call, and then they don't show up, oh, sorry, like, oh, was that today? Was it? Oh, my calendar link didn't show it. You know, so it's a very big difference. But I think if you have that perfect storm, that balance of possibility and results, and you know that you can do it, and the person that you're looking for can provide that to you, and your own personal belief in you, and like know that you're committed to doing it, that's when you should do it. If either of those two are not in alignment, I always say this, like, don't do it then. Like, you know, just because it's there, because you won't do something, and that means you'll waste money. And then it's like, to be honest, as well, for me now, when people come to me, I'm like, I was like, don't tarnish my stats. Like, if you're going to come in, because we have like, our average is like 17 times return on investment that people, when they work with us, I'm like, if you're not going to give it your all, to be honest, I don't want you to drop my average. So like, I also don't want to just take your money for the sake of it, but it's like, if you're going to pay me, like, if you're not committed, like there's a difference between someone not paying me and not being committed. If someone's like, Kim, I can pay you very little, but I'm going to be committed and do it, sometimes I'll take them on because I know I can help. But if someone's like, oh, I don't know if I can do it, like, maybe I'll show up to the calls. I actually, like, I do not want to come in because you're not going to do it. And it's going to be a waste of both our time, and then you're going to drop my average as well. And I need to keep those numbers up.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you know, there's something to be said about, you know, when your back's against the wall, you really do like strive as hard as you can.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not saying you need to put yourself into like crazy amounts of debt, but I think if you know, set those goals and you really, you know, go all in, I think that's the main thing, right? I mean, I know in Ironman, I'd enter an Ironman and it'd be like $1,000 or something, and I was like, I better go and do some training, you know, because it's like so expensive, and that's how they can get away with like extortionate entry fees, is because, you know, and they barely have anyone not show up, maybe 2%, you know, and this is like between a 9 and 15-hour day. so it's that psyche of it. I love that. Yeah. So I guess the next question is going to be, I'd say it's probably a bit hard for you to say because you're such a creative, but what legacy are you wanting to create and leave in this online space?
For me, it's just like with everything, like one of our company values as well is to leave things better than you found them. And it's like, for me, like I'd love to have that impact on the space that we play in, and just go, cool. Whenever we go to an event, whenever I do a podcast, whenever I write a book, whenever I write an article, is that like people come away from that better than when they first came towards it. So for me, it's like, if I can leave that impact and have something where, you know, like I've got books on my shelf from guys who wrote them in like early 1900s, like, and kind of all the way up, then if I can have that same effect where, you know, in 50, 60, 100 years times, like guys have got my podcast or a book or something from me, and it continues to add value, then, you know, I'll be happy, and I'll sleep happy every night knowing that I've been able to contribute towards that. So most days I sleep pretty good because we put most of it on the line every day, and we pump out shows, we pump out articles and content, and I'll respond to, you know, like I barely ever leave a message unread. So if someone responds to me, like I'll get back to them at some point and try and add value if I can.
Honestly, incredible response rate. Like phenomenal. As I said, spoke to me on a train, you know, in between work and pleasure. Just you live and breathe it. It's crazy. So I guess like how can people get in touch with you? I know when I follow you on Insta stories, you kind of like get this real insight to even, you know, the prompts that are written in your journal every day. Like I was like, where did you buy that? And didn't you make it?
I reckon I should have got an affiliate link from those guys, because I reckon at least 2-3 times a week someone's like, what is that journal? Where can I get it from? So I should chase that up. But yeah, Instagram is the best place if you want to connect and kind of see what I get up to. I do my best to keep active on there in comparison to, I'm on all platforms, but most of the time I'm pretty active on there because I'm trying to grow the following up on there at the moment. So if you slide into the DMs, I'll definitely be responding on there for sure, on most platforms. I do my best to get back to people as soon as possible, but yeah, to connect is probably the best shot over there.
Yep. And you've got the Kim Barrett show. Is that on?
You guys probably couldn't tell that I have a show myself as well called the Kim Barrett Show.
His is way more professional than mine, with microphones and all sorts of stuff. Doesn't turn up in his Iron Man hoodie with half brushed hair.
Oh, look, I don't know about that. I got my American Eagle hoodie, similar. Hood life. You've got to have the hoodies.
COVID, it just took it down a notch.
Yeah. Barrett Show you can see everywhere. So if you're on Instagram, most of my posts somewhat related to that. And everywhere you listen to a podcast, you'll probably find it as well.
Yeah, and you've had some super famous people on it, right? You kicked it off with Grant Cardone.
Yeah, Grant Cardone and his wife, Elena Cardone, which is pretty cool to kick off with. And yeah, I've been, I've got, depending on when this, so I've got my podcast recording in 2 days, which is going to be epic. So I'll tell you, because I don't know when this releases, but I can give your listeners the heads up. So I've got Robert Greene coming on from the 48 Laws of Power.
Wow.
50th Law with 50 Cent. So I'm trying to see if I can get Robert Greene, and then I'm going to be like, hey, Robert, can you help me get 50? So
yeah.
So we'll see how we go. That'll be it's going to be a fun conversation at 4:00 in the morning on Thursday.
Wow, exciting. I've got 11 minutes 52 to finish that book on Audible, because that was the book I was listening to when I had my big crash like 9 weeks ago running and busted 3 ligaments in my ankle. Because I was so excited about like the last bit's all, I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but the last bit's all about like Fiddy talking about like how you got to be just tough in the streets and blah, blah, blah. And I was like smashing it through the trails, and then boom, on my ankle and busted 3 ligaments. So thanks, Fiddy. So if you do get to talk to him, you could.
I'll be like, mate, do you want to know what you did to my friend Penny? Do you know what you did?
You didn't put a cap in her ass, but you did bust 3 ligaments in her ankle. Perfect. Okay, so how can the listeners and the watchers like get a little taste from you? Like, if you've got something that they can download, or like a course that they can join, what's the best?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest, and I'll say this out, and so if my memory served me correctly, members.yoursocialvoice.com.au/perfect-add-template. Real long. I apologize. I should have made a short one to do it, but I'm pretty sure off the top of my head that's it. But I'll flick it across to you, Penny, in case anyone wants it, and you put in the show notes or whatever. I'll get the correct URL so you know. Okay,
and so is that like how to structure like what to write in an ad?
Yeah, so we'll say basically like the perfect anatomy of, we call this, it's the URL is kind of different to what it's called, the converting ad template. So when you go through it, it'll show you the structure of a converting ad. It'll give you some examples and a simple framework, so that pretty much like if I needed to chuck up an ad right now in the next 5 minutes and make sure it worked, like I would follow that framework, and 99% of the time it works every time.
Perfect. Okay, so if you guys are like thinking about dabbling in Facebook ads, or struggling with your ads, or wondering why their price is going up, or they're just not converting, then make sure you go and grab that. We will put the URL in the show notes so that you can get something that, a template that works. Like, why struggle? Coming back to that, that whole like get yourself a mentor. Why struggle with something, especially Facebook ads, which is like going to the casino, you just chucking money at something. If you don't know how to play blackjack, don't sit at the blackjack table, right? So get your insider guide there, and make sure that you are constructing your ads with some thought process behind it and know what works. So it sounds fun. Yeah?
100%.
Okay, and so the last thing that I like to finish on for all of our shows is, what's your favorite one-liner you give yourself to get momentum in your business daily?
I have it up on my wall over there. So help enough people get what they want, you have everything you want. Zig Ziglar, original and the best. So that's it literally just looks at me every single day. So that's
nice.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I was thinking you were going to struggle with that one because you have so many quotes from your journal up on Instagram, but you've got it nailed. You've picked your favorite one.
Yeah, that's literally sits there. That's always, I feel like there's many good ones you can get, but if you look at that, like, yeah, you can never go wrong with that one.
Yeah, so true. Hey, well, thank you so much for joining me on the Get Momentum podcast.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it was wonderful to connect with you, and make sure that you guys jump in the show notes, and we'll grab all the links in there, and so that you can connect, you can get your ad, sorted. And then if you want to go further, make sure that you slide a DM over to Kim, and he will respond back to you. Like, seriously, just try it and see how fast he comes back to you. It's freaky. It's really freaky. Like, any time of the day. All right. Okay. Thanks so much. And if you love the show, please leave us a review, because reviews are like fodder for podcasts. And I'd love to see whether you love, hate, dislike, or 5 stars. So let's just go for 5 stars. Go to ratethispodcast.com/Penny. And apparently there's really simple instructions there. My VA tells me, so I'm sure you'll work it out. And thanks very much. We'll see you on the next episode.